Hey everyone, Wanderbot here, and welcome to Voice of Cards, the Forsaken Maiden. I almost said the Voice of Cards, the Isle Dragon Roars, but that was the previous game, which came out a couple months ago. Now, I know this is a completely standalone experience. There might be a little bit of crossover, because I saw some characters that looked very similar to the previous game, so I'm not sure how that exactly works. And I also know they reused a number of the assets, which, you know, honestly, when it comes down to it, I feel like we've kind of hit a bit of a hard cap on how much more you can push graphics or even assets for a game. So it's like, you know what, if they want to reuse the same animations or some of the same, you know, card backs or the same, like, environmental tiles, you know what, that's fine. That was the same thing back in the SNES era and it worked great. But at the same time, I do kind of wish they had waited a little bit to put this one out just so I'd have some more time to, like, build the hype. Instead, I found out about this, like, 2 weeks ago, and I was like, what? It's coming? Alright, cool. I do have to say, I really like the card backs. One of the DLCs. I'm not actually sure where I got the whale card back from, but I have it, and it's really nice.
I bid you welcome. I shall be your game master for this tale. It is a pleasure to have you.
Huh, now different guy this time.
Just like this. I will be using cards to draw you into the world of this story.
Man proclaiming himself to be a great hero is embarked on a journey to slay the dragon. Yep.
From time to time, you may be presented with choices like this.
Left, left, right, right, no left.
That's correct. It doesn't mean anything, but still, good job. You're following along with all this, I trust? Moving on. I believe your experience of the story will be shaped in no small part by my narration. As such, I hope you'll have rather more fun keeping the sound on while you play. That said, rest assured that the game remains enjoyable without sound. My words will be subtitled just as they are now.
Would you like to display the subtitles? I already set these options. Subtitles will display, there we go. Okay, can always change them later.
With the formalities sorted, we're all ready to begin the game. My. Yeah, you can hear the sound of the waves. Oh, how very evocative. Now then, let's begin our tale. Allow me to welcome you to the world of Voice of Cards. You're about to step into the shoes of the hero of this tale as he sets forth on a grand adventure. Said adventure takes place in a remote part of the sea, in which ancient traditions are alive and well. You will touch the hearts of many who dwell in this place as you journey to change fate's promise of untold ruin.
I'm scared. What does picking this option even do?
I believe in you. I believe your journey will be a success.
Fair enough.
And on that note, it is time for that journey to begin. May the waves see you safely across the tides.
Now here's the question, was this also written by Yoko Taro? I know it's very much tied to him, as the last one was.
Our story begins in a secluded grotto. The sound of the waves echoes softly across the rock walls. A solitary young man stands in front of a ship floating in the water. Brush in hand, he busies himself painting the vessel.
Oh, I hit back. I was like,
once
continue?
He finishes his work, he decides to carve his name into the side of the hull. A finishing touch.
Oh, carve the shipwright's name, Baron? You know what? I might as well just keep the default names. I could do other things though, but I like Baron as a name. That's kind of fun. Unfortunately, that means that nobody's ever going to pronounce his name. That's the one thing I hate about the whole, like, rename your character. It's like, but what if I just want them to have a canonical name so they get, you know, everybody calls them by their name? Oh well.
You carve your name in small lettering into the ship. Oh, a handsome name, that.
It would be nice if you went with the default if they'd actually pronounce it.
This young lad is the hero of our tale, and your window into the world. You're a navigator without a ship, and your soul yearns to set out upon the ocean blue for your own reasons. You have spent a great deal of time repairing the wrecked ship before you, in the hopes of crafting a partner, aboard which you might sail the high seas. The sound of a wooden box tumbling to the ground rips through the grotto. You heave a deep sigh and decide to head over to the source of the racket.
Also, I can confirm Yoko Taro was actually the creative director, creative designer for this game. So yeah, very much Yoko Taro. Though not nearly as outlandish as they usually are. This is no Drakengard. Okay, hello. Find whatever made that noise. That is most definitely a burly man. Your piece is in the middle. Use WASD to move around, or I can just click E key whenever you need a reminder of what to do next. You'll see cards with glowing edges on your adventure. That'll trigger a story event.
The source of the noise turns out to be a young girl. It looks as though she has knocked over a wooden box, packed with shipbuilding supplies, and is in quite a panic about it. The girl's name is Laddie. You came across her some time ago, collapsed on a beach. You attempted to bring her to a nearby village, but she was quite opposed to the idea for some reason. As such, she has been helping you repair the ship here. You're not quite sure how to respond to her knocking the box over.
What do you say to her? I don't... Do any of these matter? Probably not. Oh, here we go.
It's okay, you say in a gentle, reassuring tone. Laddie's worried expression melts away, replaced by one of relief.
Oh.
You move to leave the grotto, saying, "I'm going to the village to get some food." Laddie waves goodbye, her forlorn smile seeing you off. The young woman has lost her ability to speak. Neither of you have any knowledge of how she ended up in her situation, and you spend many quiet hours together in the grotto. The scent of the sea and a sense of isolation hang heavy in the air. The island is bound for ruin and has had its name since before any can really recall. This is Omega Isle. You take a deep breath and then set out for the nearby Omega Village, which shares the island's name.
Okay, make your way there. Press the menu button. You can do stuff. Cool. Oops. Unfortunately, clicking to move is probably a little bit more practical. It's not the end of the world.
You have arrived near the entrance of the village. You spy a shadow skulking about in the midst of a thicket. The shadows fall away to reveal a small monster. It's unusual to see one this close to the village.
It's so cute. It's so cute. It's probably evil, but still.
It might be cute, but it's still a monster and a threat. You must slay the beast before it can cause trouble or worse in the village.
You know what would make these games incredible? These should be Monster Collection games. That'd be incredible. Fight is on. Take down the enemies. Alright, what do we got? I got some selves, and I've got my... fairly normal. I think air thrust, or the basic wind attack. Oh, I see. We have a limited number of gems. Yeah, this makes sense. So it looks like the characters are slightly different than they were in the previous one. But the moves seem to be about the same. Digging the music. I might have to turn some things down, but... sounds great. I love the table, too. It's from the... what is it called? Unfinished City. It's a location in Nier Automata. My favorite location in the game, and one that you barely spend any time in. Which is such a shame. How the devil do I get back to the sound settings? Well, I guess I'll just save real quick before I break anything. Because, yeah, the music gets a little dicey. Oh, here it is. Game settings. Sound. Sound effects. BGM. Move it down to quiet. Sound effects, also quiet. That'll have to do. I might have to do some more rebalancing at some point. I'm gonna look around, though. I don't know how many creatures we're gonna have to deal with.
Beyond the pier, the ocean sprawls out in all directions, beckoning you to adventure.
Because I might as well just kind of explore here. I don't think I have a whole lot of enemies to fight. In fact, I'd actually wager the game is not going to let me explore much or even fight anything else until I have some more party members, which is probably going to be Laddie. Alright, well, that's the extent of it. There's nothing else here. Enter the village? Yes.
Gorgeous flower beds burst with blossoms that will one day wilt and wither away, much like Omega Village itself. This is a village that has accepted its fate to be but a moment in time, destined to fade.
That's kind of dark. Make your way to the home of the village's mayor. Here's the question. Yes, I can just warp. Oops. I just have to press the right button.
An island in want of a maiden shall fall, he mutters, to no one in particular.
Okay, we've unlocked his story. Right, you can see side stories with like some secret details about each character. Some of them are pretty banal. Some are pretty great.
This might be the last time I see this flower bed, the boy says, gazing forlornly at the flowers.
I'll bite. I'm really digging the base lore for this game. It seems like it's a little bit more interesting than the last game.
A lone woman diligently cleans the grounds of the Maiden Shrine.
Can I go to the Maiden Shrine?
The windows are closed, and it's too dark to see much inside. All sound seems to fall away.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's anything I can interact with at the moment.
I wish I got to be the maiden, the girl says mournfully, dressed head to toe in maiden garb and clearly pretending to be such.
Okay, anything else? Nope, that's pretty much it. Maya. I guess Elder.
You stop in at the mayor's house and discover that he already has a guest. The two are engaged in discussion.
That dude, the top dude, absolutely looks like the near replicant Gestalt, the main character, but aged up dramatically. Wouldn't that be a spicy thing? It's like, hey, we just secretly made a sequel to that game, like a direct sequel that's a different route, where, oh gosh, I forget his name. I think because I renamed my character something stupid. Did I name him Dad or I don't remember. I gotta go back and finish that game at some point. But, like, he really looks like it. I don't know. I loved Nier Automata. I love most of Yoko Taro's work. I haven't played enough of them, really, to talk about it in great detail, but there's kind of a freshness to them in a way that most other JRPGs feel kind of generic. And so playing this, you get kind of nice little snippets of that crossed with very traditional. When I say traditional, I mean like SNES era, PlayStation 1 era, maybe a little bit of PS2 era JRPGs before they got a little bit more fan servicey and some other stuff. Admittedly, I want to say that they've snuck the fan service in, but there's still kind of that classic fantasy storytelling that I think I'd crave and don't get a whole lot of nowadays. Anyway.
You listen in and learn that they are troubled by monsters that have appeared near the village and have been devouring precious stores of food. The villager sighs deeply. I suppose it's about the end for the village, they say flatly before departing the mayor's home. The man left standing in the room has a certain sagacity about him. He notices you waiting and inclines his head in greeting. His name is Grief. As the village's mayor, he spends his days dealing with all manner of happenings around town. He looks to be at a loss over the damage being caused by the monsters. It would likely be a simple matter for you to deal with the beasts.
Help get rid of the monsters? Sure.
You offer to deal with the monsters, and Grief replies with his thanks. You're always a big help. This is part of your daily routine. You work to sort out the village's troubles in order to procure food to eat.
I say skip the middleman. Kill the monsters, eat the monsters. Who's gonna stop you? The monsters? Ha! I'm assuming we're going out. I don't know if I have anything else I can do.
A monster has appeared before you. It holds what's left of a piece of fruit in its teeth, and its mouth moves restlessly. With a sigh, you mutter, "Let's get this over with then," and ready your weapon.
I'm noticing the main character has a spear and a rapier? I think?
Don't hold back.
Okay. Get to fight, cards, attack, defense, gotcha. I mean, pretty much knew all of this stuff. Okay, so mechanics that you might not know. I'm sure it'll get tutorialized, but I'm probably going to skip past it. So when I attack, I do 11 damage, but with that wind move, I do an additional, additional bonus damage based on what that die rolls. It's not huge, but it's bonus damage. Now, you might also notice it has kind of one of the glowy cubes in the corner. That indicates that it actually has a gem cost, though in this case, they kind of look like dice. So I could just go with regular stab, which gets me nothing. This costs 1, and this generates more. I think it can have a maximum of, like, was it like 6 or 10 or something like that? I'm not actually sure why I'm doing that here, but I don't have anything else to spend my gems on anyway. Well, that was overkill, but you know what? Whatever. Die, sucker. Let's see. But so I get 1 gem token back every round per character in the party, and there's some other ways to generate them, but usually you just kind of have to wait for time and just figure out, you know, who do you want to save up for, and sometimes the moves get kind of expensive too, but they're usually counterbalanced by being very worth it. Boop. There might be a little bit of randomization on the damage, I'm not fully sure, but I don't think it's too much. Baron leveled up, HP and defense. And I want to say max level is about 30. At least it was in the previous one.
With practiced skill, you swing your weapon. The blade flashes through the monster's throat. Merciless. Perfect aim. It would appear that you are quite accustomed to killing. You wipe the blood off your weapon. As you do, you notice a shadow in the distance. Another monster, perhaps?
How do you get rid of the monster? Go in close for the kill, because it looks kind of funky.
Silently, you creep up on the shadow and bring your blade down on it with practiced speed. But the shadow nimbly evades your strike and runs off. Whatever the shadow was, it was taken aback by your unexpected assault. It looks like it ran off in the direction of the spire near the village.
Okay, that should be a little bit better balanced. An enemy appears. Alright, now I can fight things. I don't know how much I want to go out of my way to grind this early on. Okay, there are gems. I know about all of this business. I feel like it would be so easy for this game to check. Hey, does this person have like a completed save file for the previous Voice of Card games? Yep, cool. Here's like 2 levels of a boost and the tutorial. Anything that is not new just gets passed over because it's just not relevant or important. I would love that if games were more likely to do that. Just to kind of make my life a little easier, so I'm not just skipping past tutorial bits. I'm sure I forgot like 1 or 2 things, but whatever, it doesn't matter. I know there's always a population on YouTube that's just like, how dare you skip the tutorial? And it's like, what? Why does it matter? I'll figure it out in like 1 or 2 mistakes anyway, so... Ugh. Perfection is a problem. I like imperfection because there's always room for growth and experimentation and fun. If every game was the same and just a full guided experience, I think it would be just terribly boring. Which actually makes me quite interested to see where they go with this one, owing to the fact that the last game was very cut and dry, and it had some great moments. Muscle Wizard was like one of the best things I'd seen all year. Try attack. Deal damage equal to the value of 3 rolled dice. That's useful for now, bad later. But it's fine. Do I go to the Spirit Spire? Sure. What's the worst that could happen? Worst comes to worst, I always just bail. Because the nice part is I can teleport back to staircases.
You stand before the Spirit Spire, said to have been erected to protect the island. Yet with the villagers having accepted ruination, it now stands forlorn, an edifice without a purpose. This place, so named for the spirits themselves, is one that the villagers do not enter. Despite this, you say to yourself, I have to get rid of the monster, and decide to profane the place with your presence.
I will admit, I am liking this better than the previous one. The previous one had some really neat ideas. However, it came off as a little kind of just cut and dry. I'm not sure about the main character, just because they seem to be just your standard... You who enters spirit.
There are some words etched into the door, but they are weathered and difficult to read. Worried though you are about whatever the words might say, you nonetheless try pushing the handle. With some protest, the door groans open.
The music also is far more
the
near.
Shadow of the monster you encountered earlier. Your insight that it had taken refuge in the spire has proven a good one. The shadow notices your presence and flies off at blinding speed. You can't help but admire the rapid escape, though it looks like you're back to chasing after a shadow.
Like, it's definitely got that kind of Nier style, soulful, I mean, especially acoustic guitar at the moment, which is generally some of my favorite aspects of, you know, the Nier soundtracks over the years. Over the years? I mean, from those games? I don't know. I've played an amount of Nier, but I haven't played, like, that much. I mostly just finished Automata, and then, there we go. I was expecting some monsters to come after me, but I guess not.
You survey your surroundings, relying on the shafts of sunlight filtering in through the windows. However, you're unable to see the monster from where you are.
Well, there's an altar, which... that seems very... ooky spooky, maybe? Or maybe it's nothing, I don't know. I'm gonna check everything all the same. I want to see if any monsters pop out at me, but I bet this is kind of where we get the plot hook. Beyond just Latya being suspicious. Not Latya. Lady? Laddie? Laddie. There we go. Look, you hear her name once and then immediately forget it.
In the back of the large hall, there is an altar, which evinces a sense of deep mystery.
Ooh, evinces. That's a vocab word. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV recently, and every time there's a new word I don't know of, I actually write it down. I'm not sure if I want to include it on this one. You know what? I'm just gonna take a screenshot if I can. Hopefully that'll save. I mean, I kind of know what it means, but Square Enix almost unilaterally has been improving my vocabulary over the last year or so, which was not something I expected, but I do appreciate.
The altar is wrought of a strange kind of stone, its surface polished smooth. It looks as though it's meant for use in some important ritual. You approach the altar to check that there are no places for monsters to hide themselves away inside it.
Maiden, here. Who's there?
In reply to the mysterious and unidentifiable voice that suddenly rent the silence, you ask in a sharp tone, "Who's there?"
Spirit.
You strain your ears, trying to make out the broken snippets of words echoing off the chamber walls.
Laddie.
After speaking a word that rings familiar to your ears, Laddie, the voice becomes impossible to hear. It cannot be. Could you truly have heard the voice of the spirit from the Maiden's myth passed down on the island? All signs of the monster you were in pursuit of seem to have vanished. For the time being, you decide to return to the village and report your success.
Okay. And to save myself time, I can just warp back. Part of the reason why there's minimal fear of like, oh boy, this might be too hard for me. Because all I have to do is like leave one fight and then I can just bail out. There's random encounters in this game, but because you can just teleport wherever you want, which bypasses any amount of, random battles, it's pretty quick. And pretty safe. I don't know. I think I was talking about this when I was playing the previous Voice of Cards, but playing the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters at the same time as this, the parallels are actually quite neat.
When you arrive at the mayor's house, there is a young visitor already there. She looks to be making an impassioned request of Grieth. In a wearied voice, Grieth replies, "There is no longer any maiden in our village." Admonished, the girl leaves the house with disappointment written across her expression. You inform the mayor that you've taken care of the monsters around town. As thanks for completing the job, the mayor hands you a basket of fruit. Oh, good, you think to yourself. Another day, another basket of fruit.
Okay, as we encounter things, we will get stuff added to the collection, special cards, collect every special story, view your collection. No. I can look at that later. Go out? Yes. So, other comparison I can make, I want to talk about the old school JRPGs, but you can jump towards terrain up. Yeah, we've already done that. Go to the Secret Grotto. Way ahead of you, game. This hasn't rolled the humor out nearly as much. Actually, there's been no humor so far. That was one of the aspects I really liked about Isle Dragon Roars. It was legitimately funny. Hopefully we get to that point, but this has a much more intriguing premise. Even if it seems like mostly just the society is incredibly reliant on having a maiden.
You re-enter the grotto and announce your return. On a normal day, Laddie would already have zipped over to greet you. But today, nothing.
I love the card frames. The just kind of mooches stuff around the corners. Art Deco.
And discover that she is sound asleep.
Yeah, just the Art Deco elements just kind of strewn around the card borders and whatnot. It's such a lovely look.
Life in the grotto is not one of creature comforts. Rather, a fair few inconveniences. You've tried several times to bring Laddie to the village, but she was adamantly opposed on every occasion. You sometimes catch glimpses of her face while she sleeps. Always it is contorted in anguish, as though she is in the throes of a terrible nightmare. You notice a bulky book lying open next to Laddie, filled with carefully drawn words and images. It seems to be some kind of picture book that Laddie made herself. You know, I confess, I am a bit curious.
Take a peek.
Unable to overcome your curiosity, you decide to take a look at the picture book. Beside evocative images of deep forests and towering mountain ranges, Laddie has written a story patterned after the Maiden's myth. The picture book story is set in a small village replete with nature. The village enjoys the promise of peace and tranquility, thanks to the young woman born to be the Maiden. The Maiden goes before the altar to perform a ritual, which invokes the power of a great spirit to protect the village. You look over the artwork, a spitting recreation of the altar you saw in the spire, and think back on the mysterious voice. The voice claimed it was a spirit, and you're certain it spoke Laddie's name. You are so caught up in the thoughts racing through your head that you failed to notice Laddie had awakened. Laddie seems embarrassed that you've seen her book. Tears prick the corners of her eyes. If Laddie were indeed the Maiden, it would be no exaggeration to call her the very light of hope, a protective force that could save the island from its encroaching ruin. With faint expectation tightening your chest, you consider taking her to the altar in the spire. You've given Laddie some of the fruit you brought back. She dreamily stuffs some of it into her mouth. Maybe she likes it. You hope so. Your stomach rumbles as you watch her, and together, the two of you enjoy a light meal.
Wait. Oh, this is kind of... I feel like... I realize she can't speak a word, but I mean, she clearly can write. I feel like you could easily have a conversation about, like, hey, this spirit called your name, like, can we go? Because this island is super doomed. Okay. Encounter enemies in which you must do battle. Yeah. I mean, we know this business. I'm just gonna walk it. Maybe fight a couple monsters or an event.
You come across an open-air stall. A sign reads, "Goods bought here."
Sure. Take a look.
As you peer into the stall, its proprietress calls out to you. "This is an exchange shop. We'll pay good money for whatever you have. But this determines the price," she continues, revealing the die in her hand.
Oh, boy. Well, lucked out on that one. Okay, select what I'd like to sell. Wait, are these mine? I don't want to sell anything. I wanted to buy stuff.
It seems she's finished buying for the day. The proprietress begins closing up shop, and you go on your way.
I see. So that's... we sell stuff to her. Okay. Beckoning to adventure, but we don't have a boat yet. Gonna wander around a little bit more. Enemy appears. There we go. I want to see what Laddie's moves are. I was gonna say,
And
right.
Fight.
I've always felt... okay, so she seems to be basic magic caster healer setup. That's fair. I always feel really guilty about those adventures where you more or less force the hero to go on the journey. And I realized, like, to some fundamental level, try attack. Some fundamental level, like, you can't just say no to these things. I mean, you kind of can. But, you know, it's like, do you sacrifice to save the entire island's worth of people? I mean, practicality and altruism says yes, but, like, I don't know. There's always that question of, like, is it ethical to force people to do things that they don't want to do, even if it's for the good of others? And the answer is, I mean, that's a question. And nowadays, it very much seems to be this kind of weird mix of just like, no, you can't force anybody to do anything. The answer is like, yeah, I think there are a number of things that you would expect of a person to say, like, hey, you know, civic duty kind of requires, encourages? I don't know. I don't have the right word for it at the moment. But, you know, there's kind of a implicit, like, hey, you should do things that improve the world around you in some way, or at least leave it a better place. But I think it's a different question when it's just like one person, maybe? Okay, goods bought here. No, let's just ignore it.
You weren't really looking to sell anything, so you ignore it and go on your way.
I just don't have money. Alright, let's go to the spire. But I think freedoms are important, but also civic duty is important, but also a number of things, but within, like, JRPGs...
You take Laddie with you and return to the spire.
Laddie's beloved if unassuming staff.
Of the spire, the staff that Laddie clutches close begins to emit a faint light. Seeing the mysterious light, you are convinced Laddie has a deep connection to the spire. Her expression uneasy. Laddie takes hold of your sleeve with a tentative touch.
Okay. I don't know if there's any monsters to even fight in the spire. I'm assuming no. Well...
You stand before the altar once more, bathed in an air of mysticism. The light emitting from Laddie's staff intensifies, as if indicating its destination.
Excellent, the Maiden.
In response to the enigmatic voice, Laddie's staff exudes a dazzling light. A spirit appears. Well, maybe it's a spirit? It's some kind of strange stuffed animal.
I am the spirit.
The stuffed toy seems to be affecting a voice of considerable gravitas and choking itself in the process.
Well, I failed that part.
This creature is called Lack. Though you cannot be certain it speaks the truth, it claims to be a spirit. You approach, hoping to ask about the Maiden. But with blinding speed, Lack zooms behind Laddie, putting her between you as a shield.
Wait.
You're the one from before, Lack says, quaking. It would appear that you're mistaking the creature for a monster, and doggedly chasing after it has made it rather afraid of you.
Do you have anything you could use to make amends? Sword! Fruit or salve. I gotta.
You're not sure what's going through your head as you lay your hand on your weapon. Lack quakes even worse than before, stammering. What are you doing?
Salve?
You hold out an offer of reconciliation. Lack does not appear impressed, seeming offended that you thought you could win back its favor so easily.
I appreciate that there's no failure state on this, and it's pretty funny with the sword.
You hold out an offer of reconciliation, and Lack takes it and immediately starts munching away. Between bites, it says, "You've got some good taste there." You're not really sure if the make good worked out, but in any event, Lack looks willing to listen to you now. You ask about the maiden once more, and Lack begins to talk a lot. It seems to enjoy doing so. Just as the maiden's myth handed down amongst the denizens of the island suggests, it explains, Laddie was indeed born to be the maiden here. However, she was unable to take up her role. This has caused no small amount of distress over the island's inevitable destiny to sink beneath the raging waves. Lack concludes with a proposal. How's about you go and meet with the other maidens and fetch the maiden's relics? As you had hoped, Laddie appears to be the key to the island's salvation.
Ask what lack means in greater detail.
This island is not the only one home to a spirit. There are islands throughout this archipelago, and upon each dwells one of the 4 maidens who govern their own spirit. The self-proclaimed spirit explains that if you bring the maiden's relics that each of these maidens possess back to this spire, Laddie will be able to become a maiden herself. Laddie shows the staff in her hand, wearing an expression that seems to say, "This is a maiden's relic." You ask, should we kill the maidens and steal the relics? Laddie shakes her head rapidly, as if to insist that you definitely should not do that. As Lack explains, each maiden has an attendant, an escort, and protector. This would make it difficult to take the relics by brute force. If Laddie becomes a maiden and performs the maiden's ritual at the altar, the island can be saved. The world-changing immensity of what you have just learned echoes in your mind. It takes you a little while to fully digest it. But it does just so happen you've been readying a seaworthy vessel for your own purposes. You accept Lack's proposal to help Laddie become a maiden.
I feel like there's going to be some kind of weird dark twist here, but I haven't quite figured out what it would be yet.
You want me to poof you back to the entrance?
Thank you, yes.
You decide to make for the spire's exit.
Oh, I love that. Return to Omega Village. Well, fair enough. Isn't Laddie gonna freak out or no?
Accompanied by your new allies, you make to enter the village.
I get the feeling that this whole thing is a ruse and Lack turns out to actually be like super evil. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, dude's freaky looking and I don't like him. And I feel like with the name like Omega Isle, whatever is the like deal with this island is no good. And that by bringing all the relics here, we're only going to make everything far worse.
But Laddie seems to find something about this idea disagreeable and clings to a tree nearby, refusing to budge. "Oh, I got this one," says Lack, evidently with some kind of plan in mind. The fluffy creature begins to chant a sort of mysterious spell.
Wuna waka, wuna waka.
Suddenly, Laddie's face is transformed into that of an odd old man's.
What the hell?
Laddie touches her transformed visage and then gives a thumbs up, perhaps as if to say,
Oh,
"Good job.
it's not.
You are a god." But Laddie looks sideways at you as she walks into the village, her identity now safely hidden.
Well.
This is your home. A desk pushed up near the wall is adorned with an unfurled map and a scattering of books. The navigation map is of your own design, and depicts the various islands in this region of the sea. It contains information on the maidens of those nearby islands, culled meticulously from books and the tales of passing travelers. Before all of this, you had found yourself unable to merely sit and watch the village's decline, and so planned a voyage to seek aid from the maidens of the other islands. After popping into the back room, you emerge with a carefully polished ship's wheel and present it to your companions. It is the final piece of the ship you restored at the grotto. With it, you will finally be able to set sail on the voyage you have dreamed of for so long. You have made ready for the voyage, but before you set sail, you decide to stop in at the mayor's to say your farewells. Greeth's eyes fall over the unfamiliar face behind you. And who do we have here?
Well, who do we have here? Yes. Yes?
At your quick response, Greeth blinks a few times in confusion. His eyes dart back and forth between the pair of you, as though his brain is putting together the pieces of a complex puzzle. At length, he offers a deep nod. You'll need to clear up the misunderstanding later. Changing the subject, you explain to the mayor that you'll be leaving the village for a little while on a voyage to save the island. You felt sure that the mayor, with his love of the village, would see you off with a smile. And yet the moment you explain that you found a maiden who can save the island, his attitude changes like the fickle sea winds, and he voices opposition to your journey. This island is destined to meet its end, he says. You can practically sense him digging his feet in. You cannot fathom why he, the mayor of the village, would believe something like that. Though each of you hold the island in your hearts, you cannot reconcile the difference of opinion. Like lovers going their separate ways after an acrimonious spat, it looks as though you will be setting out on bad terms.
Oh, acrimonious is another good one. I already knew that word, but it's good vocab all the same.
You believe that your desire to save the island will prove to be the right perspective.
I still wonder if there's something actually wrong with this village. I'm curious about, like, the mechanics behind it sinking beneath the waves. Like, it feels like there's something bigger going on than just like, this is what happens. I'm curious. I do appreciate, I said that there wasn't any humor yet, but we found it. And it's weird, but it's good so far.
Your ship. Your trusted companion. Once a mere wrecked husk that you labored to bring back to life with months of sweat and toil. You climb up to the stern, and with every bit of care you can muster, you attach the wheel. The final stroke upon the canvas. At last, your ship is finished.
It looks like it's in a bad state.
The vessel's design is patterned after a great whale. There are a number of mismatched parts, but that particular quirk only makes you love it all the more. As you look over your handiwork, you realize that your companion on this upcoming journey will need a name. What would a fitting name be, you ponder?
Your companions appear to be looking at you expectantly. Ask for Laddie's opinion.
Laddie tears a page from her book and then scribbles a name down on it. in her small handwriting is written, "The Bon Vent." According to Lack, the words are a kind of prayer in the language of the spirits for safe passage when bidding one farewell on a long journey. A farewell said before long journeys. The words could make a fitting appellation for your ship. You're unsure of just how much you ought to trust Lack, or his skill with words. But nonetheless, decide to go with Laddie's suggestion. Together, you load up the Bon Vent with the necessary provisions. Preparations for your departure are now finished.
Now then, shall you sail on your journey? Set sail on your journey for the Maidens. Weigh anchor!
You throw your hands upon the ship's wheel and shout, "Weigh anchor!" with gusto. Your voyage has begun.
Oh, do we get one of those nice chapter transitions? Yeah, we do, I think. Spirits dwell upon an archipelago surrounded by sparkling seas. It is on these islands that maidens, guarded by their guardians, or something or other. The spirits have helped them keep the island safe since time immemorial. Yet one of these isles lacks a maiden and can do nothing but await its ruination. A young seafarer, searching for a way to save his home, meets a mysterious maiden who has lost both her powers and her voice. A self-proclaimed spirit tasks them with gathering the maiden's relics. And so they set sail to see the isles and hear their tales. So are we just on an open ocean, or is it going to pull the rug out underneath us and have us be a different character? Nope,
Though
we're
your
these
ship
people.
had long since forgotten the taste of seawater, it nonetheless cuts through the waves like a fillet knife through fresh fish. It is your first sea voyage. Laddie's eyes glitter as she looks out at the horizon, stretching ever onward over the endless blue expanse. She opens up your homemade navigation map, checking the locations of the islands where the other maidens live. On the island to the south of here lives a beauteous maiden garbed in azure robes, as though the sky itself is wrapped around her. After closing up the map, you grasp the wheel like a familiar old friend and tell the ship where you'd like to go. You now have free rein to sail across the sea as you see fit. New tales await you when you put into port on an island where a maiden dwells.
Interesting. I wonder if I could go to other ones. Okay. So we'll automatically change on air or sea. Party makes land. I don't like the notification whenever it switches. That's a little slow. And let's fight a thing. Okay, so I can safely say that this... I want to say it feels a little bit more interesting.
Fight.
Oh, it's cute. It's pretty much the same creature as before, but it's still cute. They both have kind of a nudibranch look to them, which I rather appreciate. Nudibranchs are adorable. It is also dead. It is very dead. But it's cute. I would love to see them adapt this formula into like a fairly decent Monster Collection game. Wait, Lack's a party member? What? Okay, maybe he's not actually evil then. I mean, could be, but still. Either way, I'm impressed. I know I was going to like this going into it. I think my only immediate reservation boils down to the fact that I wish they had waited. To some degree, these are kind of the perfect...
Don't hold back.
Ooh, neat new creature. These are the kind of perfect comfort food JRPGs. They usually take about 10 to 15 hours to complete. I think it took me about 12 to finish... 12 to 14 to finish Isle Dragon Roars, and I felt like that was a very reasonable duration. Definitely doesn't hit the dollar per hour that I know some people might be looking for, but from my perspective, that's perfect. I kind of prefer it when games are a little bit shorter, sweeter, and don't waste my time as much.
Whirlpools are a common occurrence in this area of the sea. It doesn't seem like your ship is capable of crossing them.
Oh, so that's the limitation. I'm not free to go wherever I want because there's whirlpools. Also this thing.
You spot something blown into the sky from a whale's spout. It looks like it might fall this way, but it's hard to make out with the sun behind it.
What will you do? Let's see. Catch it in your arms. It looks like a blue blob creature.
You open your arms wide, and what should fall into them but a monster. It bares its fangs, ready to take a bite out of you. You have a battle on your hands.
Anyway, so they're kind of the perfect, like, comfort food JRPGs, and to some degree, I think these games are actually very good, and I would honestly highly recommend them. My big reservation mostly boils down to, I recommend them, but there's the question of maybe they came out just a little too early. Poke, surprise, and charge. Well, we might as well just poke it to death. He is our weakest party member by far anyway. But that, I almost kind of wish what they had done for these was actually said, hey, we're going to have a new Voice of Cards game out for like a couple of years, every year on like June 12th. Just kind of, or maybe it's like the first Friday of every June or something. Just like a really scheduled, very, let's just go for a try attack. I don't actually know if it's going to do enough damage. It's going to come up just a bit shy, I think. Or that kills it. Perfect. Because currently, when did the last one come out? Was it like November, December? Something to that extent? That's just a little too close for me. That the novelty hasn't built back up again in my head, and I'm like, I mean, I'm gonna play it, most likely. I just...
Congrats.
Too much of a good thing is, I guess, a bad thing. There is such a thing as too much of a good thing, I guess. Okay, unshakable, immunity to attack down. Oh, and that's a passive ability. There we go.
Next time, it would be good to get a better look before acting, you think to yourself.
I mean, it zipped by, but I also didn't know what was going to happen. Do your abilities? Sure. So do I just have all of my abilities active, or can I only have one active? Okay. I am unsure. Yeah, maybe we can only have one ability active, or maybe we can have as many as we want. I forget. It was kind of, I don't want to say an underutilized feature of Isle Dragon Roars, but I would love to see a little bit more character customization in terms of abilities and movesets and whatnot. It's fine, but like, you know, dice, for example. It'd be really cool if there's an ability, like a character that specialized more in dice builds. And using dice. Okay. Poison enemies or poison characters take 1 to 6 points of damage at fixed intervals. It's the ailments last a set number of turns or until the end of battle. Cards cannot be afflicted with more than one ailment at a time. Instead, a new one will replace the old one. Okay. Cool. Rude. Now, she can heal, but I think we're just gonna fight. Because the sooner this battle ends, the less we have to worry about it. Anyway, what else was I going to say about all of this? And mostly just the perspective of, like... I'm less excited about it because it came out so close to the previous one, and that it would have been nice if it was almost kind of a scheduled thing. I'm having the same problem with the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. Like, I like them, but, like, I'm barely... Okay, I started a little late on them, but, you know, I'm barely through the first part of Final Fantasy V, and Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remastered just came out, and I'm like, oh, do I play it? Cure any elemental resistance down and restore 10 HP. Woo! Wait, Groom. Oh, wait, no, that makes sense in terms of, like, grooming. I don't know.
I don't
There's
know what
multiple
it is,
definitions
but
for
there's
that.
just something so relaxing about the sound of waves, isn't there?
Okay, well, either way, I think I've made my points, and I think it's something I will bring up again in the future. Just to talk about, like, games and too much and too little.
And fight.
So, anyway, Voice of Cards, the Forsaken Maiden is available on, I think, Steam, PlayStation, and Switch. I don't know if it's on Xbox. It might be. Hopefully it is. And it is $30, which might be a little steep for some people. And to some degree, like, I'd still recommend it. I think it's such a great, little idea for Square Enix to do. I always want more kind of bite-sized experiences. And so from my perspective, I'm so much more satisfied playing a game that is this shorter, sweeter, better organized experience than something that is overblown, overdone, or, you know, 100 hours long. Because, gosh, those 100-hour games, like, you really have to commit to them. Whereas this, like, I could lose an afternoon, like a couple afternoons to, and be done with, and that's honestly just as valuable to me. If not more so, then I'll take it. Would have been nice for the nugget, but it's fine. It's fine. But I would definitely say, like, if this game ever goes down to, like, $10, pick it up. It's worth it. It's super solid. And it's really kind of a feeling of what would have happened if JRPGs of, like, the olden days had really stayed as prominent as they were. I think they're still prominent in their own ways, but I feel like, oddly enough, Square Enix, with their ever-expanding, budgets and scope, really kind of pushed out the old style and really hyped up kind of these new bombastic, you know, extreme JRPGs that get bigger and better with every iteration. And, like, it's kind of nice to just have these smaller comfort food games instead. At least from my perspective. I don't know. Anyway, with all of that, if you guys like this video in any way, shape, or form, leave me a like, helps more than you know. And if you want to see more, I gotta decide. I don't think I'm gonna have time to do a full series on this just because there's too many other games coming out now. I'm moving in like 2 weeks. So I think this is gonna be where I leave off, but I might play it on my own and do like a review or something. That's kind of a style I want to work towards anyway.
It's like you can feel the sea breeze.
I really like the narrators that they choose for these. I like the last one, I like this one. This one's a little bit more emotive, the last one was just such beautiful ASMR. Okay, well, I gotta stop, otherwise I'm gonna keep getting interrupted. So, with all that said, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.